Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 144. This episode it is with the three hosts again. And then from next week, episode 145, we have three guests in a row lined up for the next 3 weeks. So today is Pete, Paul and myself again, talking through what's going on with us in terms of training, what is going on with our clients, our businesses, what we're thinking about, the conversations we've been having, that sort of thing. And then, like I say, the next 3 weeks, we have guests lined up. So, Mr. Peter Lant, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Been out for a walk as normal. It's nice and sunny. Fantastic. It's all good.
It's
and I'm even sacrificing for myself. So we've got scaffolding up at the front of the building at the minute, but I'm still using my wobbly pull-up bar.
But the scaffolding is probably a lot more thick, isn't it, as well? The grip,
yeah.
It'd be good for grip strength. But yeah, the scaffolding bars are going to be fatter. Yeah, so yeah. Cool, excellent. No, like I said, we just before we started recording, I said I saw a set of pull-ups you were doing the other day on Instagram in your courtyard with the top off, filmed from the back, and you can certainly see the fruits of your labor, I suppose. All these pull-ups you've been doing for months and years on end, you can really see the change, can't you?
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think you said you're thick.
I said you're looking. I nearly put you looking thick and juicy, but I thought that was a bit.
He's got his Lululemons on.
Yeah.
No, I think
honestly, certainly see that across your back, your arms, your shoulders, everything's like really like thickened up, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. Well, there's a few things there. I used to hate pull-ups, but I was never any good at them. But now I've got better at them. But it's funny that because I've been doing a lot of them. They always used to give us elbow tendonitis as well, but I've kind of changed the way I grip the bar because that's basically what it's. I was basically hanging off the bar and just trying to pull instead of activating the right places. But also, it's testament to the fact that you can still put muscle on in your 40s.
Mm. And I also think
late 40s even.
And I also think that probably because you are, I mean, I've been listening to loads of the Dan John podcast recently, and I know he talks about MAPS, doesn't he? Middle-aged pull-up syndrome, these elbow problems that in your middle ages doing too many pull-ups. But he often talks about, what are your gaps, and if you're doing too much, and most people do too much pressing. But the amount of pull-ups you are doing, you are also kind of balancing that with the amount of overhead pressing that you're doing, aren't you? So you're complementing the pulling and the pressing, and it's probably matching quite well. So you're not kind of overloading the pulls because you're doing the pressing as well. So that's probably got something to do with it as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I know I did have elbow problems about a year ago, and it was affecting my pistols and everything because like even holding the bell for a pistol out in front's really hard. But I noticed like that when I do that with my hands, that one, the little finger does that, and that's all connected, isn't it? So if I can grip the bar like that and squeeze my little finger as much as possible, it saves. I can feel my lat switch on more, and it saves my elbows. So that's literally all I've been doing. Yeah, I've been doing that on the presses as well, and my left shoulder just feels so much better.
No, that's fantastic. You've actually just reminded me. I was having some elbow problems on both, but mainly on the left. But that was when I was doing lots of the weighted pull-ups, and then Paul sort of stripped that right back, and I've just been doing body weight pull-ups and reduced the volume and the reps down. And actually, I just, when you kind of suddenly think, you saying that, I just thought, actually, my elbow doesn't hurt anymore, and it hasn't hurt for a while. You just kind of forget, but it's kind of gone, So that's really, that's really, really good. Mr. Paul Bassett, how are you doing? I saw you juggling the other day.
Yeah, well, it's a skill I developed at the age of 13 that, I packed into the back of my brain and have never accessed it again until I suddenly bought a load of tennis balls for the studio. I thought, I used to be able to juggle. So I thought I'd just show off,
and you still can juggle.
But yeah, just can't do it with 4 anymore. I used to be able to do it with 4, but yeah, go up and down. Do a kind of like people do Turkish get-ups with kettlebells, so you can get up and down from a lunge onto your back, juggling and things like that. It's all good stuff. A good way of switching the brain on, particularly is warming up is. I mean, I train on my own, so one of the hardest things is just getting yourself into the mindset to train. Particularly if you've got a big session, you can't just rely on someone motivating you or getting it all structured. You just got to kind of show up and do it. And so getting yourself in the right mindset when you've got a tough workout is often a challenge. So if you can come at it from a different angle, juggling. Not enough people do. I mean, is juggling in Strongfirst? I can't remember. Is that
Not
one of the
aware
tests?
of. No, but I've seen Pete do pistols while doing a Rubik's Cube, I think. Haven't I? Yeah. He's done pistol squats while doing a Rubik's Cube, so he's kind of operating the using the mind and the body as well, which is good. And just to explain to people, if Paul's sound is slightly different today, or if he's at his studio and there is some drilling in the background, so I think he's kind of muting and unmuting to speak to us. And that's also why his video's not on, I think. But he is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I when there's something in your room that's annoying you, and so I finally kind of gave into it, and I got a handyman in. He's a good guy to just move a load of weights that are bolted onto the wall, and now I want them in another place. I'm just being a perfectionist, really, but I thought I'd just get it done now while it's in my head.
Yeah. So you've got this lovely new building that's all been brand new, and you're already kind of, drilling multiple holes and banging holes in the wall and all sorts, but it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm making my mark on it like a dog round a lamppost.
Okay. Dear me. So, I mean, what's been going on for you guys in the last week then? What's been happening with clients and things and your own training, or any conversations you've been having of note, or thoughts you've been having of note, or things you've been working on with your coaches and that sort of thing?
Shall I start?
Yeah. Start. Yeah.
Yeah. And break the silence. I mean, for a lot of what we do for my clients is just as we come into the summer, really, it's just keeping people's focus, really. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to organize some social events, just trying to bring people together. I've got a strength challenge which I'm about to launch for my clients, so they can all come down and test their strength. A bit like your tactical strength challenge, which is great. It's just allows people to kind of get together. I mean, I think it's the community aspect which is really great, particularly since we've got the new studio ourselves. Being able to really kind of because people, when they work out, they can go over to the sofas after the workout and meet the next group of people coming in. It's a great opportunity for people to start kind of building relationships, which I think really helps. And that's something you've always done really well, James. I remember when I first came down to your space, there was a great sense that there was places where people could hang out. And obviously on social media, you post a lot of stuff about things you do as a group. I think that's a big thing that people have always lacked when they've gone to the gym, is this sense that have some ownership over and a sense of kind of community in place, which we didn't really have before we moved to the new studio, because our previous studio, people would come in, and once they finished the session, they'd file out and go and get changed or whatever. Now they can hang about and talk and commiserate and congratulate, depending on how the session went. But that's what I've noticed. So particularly as we come into the summer, where people start to go on holidays and stuff like that, and the sun, we've had the doors open and let some air in, and it definitely feels like it's a big part of what we're doing at the moment, just really fostering that connections between people.
Yeah, I think the light mornings and the light evenings are really good as well at the moment, because people kind of come in to train. Well, our first sessions are sort of 6 a.m. or 6:10 a.m. and people are turning up to train at that time, and you can just tell they're in a better frame of mind at that time of the morning, and we've got the shutters wide open, especially, if the sun's out, and it's not so hard to wake up in the mornings, in the evenings, when it gets dark at 4 p.m., coming out at 6 or 7 is quite hard work, venturing out into the dark once you've got home from work or whatever, and you've maybe sat on the sofa. But at the moment, people can finish training at, 8 or 9 p.m. and it's still light, and you kind of feel like you've got a real evening there, which is great. And I think that we've got, I think, when is it? The first weekend in June, we've got our annual walking weekend that we're doing in the Chilterns, I think it's called, near Oxford. Is it near Oxfordshire? Something like that. Anyway, but we're going there for a weekend walking with a group of about 20 members. So I think that's so important. And because I think a lot of people who go to kind of commercial gyms and things, people tend to kind of go in and maybe put their headphones on, and it can be, even though you're exercising around other people, if you're not taking part in the exercise classes, it can probably be quite a solitary pursuit, whereas I know that Pete as well, with his group of guys who train outside, and obviously yours, Paul, and mine, it becomes more like you're turning up and you've got friends around you, and it's social as well as training, which I think is a huge part of what was the word, that compliance, or that kind of continuing, I can't think of the correct word at the moment, begins with an A, I think. Adherence, that kind of adherence, and that kind of sticking with it is a big
James,
part.
do you still train with other people? Because I remember you used to train. You had a group of 2 guys you used to train with at certain times. Because you've got a more structured program now. Do you still train with them?
No, I don't. I don't train. I train on my own, but I train, and I think when we had Dr. Paul Bedford on, the retention guru, he spoke about this. He said some people can sort of train on their own, in terms of, they're in their garage, or they are totally on their own when they're training. I suppose like a lot of what Pete does is training on his own. People can train in groups, as part of, a large group class or a small group class. And then people can train on their own, but in the presence of others. And I kind of train on my own, but in the presence of others. So I kind of feel that you get a little bit of banter in between sets, and you can feed a little bit of energy off of other people as well. But, I'm essentially doing my own thing on my own, but there are other people around. So I've kind of got a little bit of a mix, really, the way I do things now. Yeah.
I've got a question for you on that, because there's someone who I know who owns a gym who basically, if they have to work out at home, because so they've got all the stuff at home now. They've got a load of bells and pull-up bars and stuff like that, because if they try to train at their gym, they get asked too many questions, because they're the owner of the gym and they're in charge. So either from the staff or from clients and what have you. So how do you have to manage that, or do you have a big sign on your head saying off duty?
No, I think I'm fine to talk to people. Like, when you're doing sort of strength training, especially like strength training with Paul McElroy stuff, you're often doing lots of sets and you're resting a lot of the time, because I'm not just, it's not high intensity training. I'm kind of training, then recovering, then training, then recovering, then training. So while I'm in between sets, I don't mind talking to people and having a chat. But then I think people kind of know that when I'm actually mid-set, or when I'm actually training, I'm training. But then as soon as I put the weight down at the end of the set, ask me a question, or I can talk about something. I was training the other day on Saturday with and I think Lauren Emery was there as well. And I was doing, how many sets would it have been? 28 sets of presses. And I had it set on my 28 sets of presses. And I had it set on my timer to do a set every 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And I was doing like ladders. So it ended up being like an hour and 3 minutes of pressing standing there. But, when you're doing the one-on-one, then you've got like 2 minutes that you basically just, so then I'll go and do a job in between, or I'll kind of have a chat, or I'll go and put the kettle on, I'll come back, the buzzer will go, I'll do the next set. So I kind of I'm very structured with the way I do it. The other day I was deadlifting, and then someone was in the gym like laughing. I think they go in. I was supersetting the deadlifts with a bit of hoovering in between,
Yeah.
kind of do your set of deadlifts, put it down, hoover kind of like a quarter of the floor space, do your next set of deadlifts, put it down, hoover the next quarter of the floor space. So yeah, people are used to me training, and they know when I'm serious and when I need to be left alone and when I'm okay to have a chat, so that's a long answer, but that's that's kind of it.
It's funny that, because that comes up with the the concept you were talking about a while ago of no extra time tasks. Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, no extra time tasks. NETT. Yeah.
Because I obviously train at home, so in between that, I'll be I'll feed the dog, I'll get my breakfast ready, and then shove it in the oven, and it just cooks in the oven while I'm waiting, and then I pull it out, let it cool down, and all that. And I know the times to do it, and I'll get emails done in between. And what have you? Because I mean, like training with Paul, it takes like the sessions take a long time, but I get a morning's work done while I'm doing it as well. And that's just like, I just find that quite interesting, because I've had a few people who are feeling a bit tight and stuff at the minute, and I'm like, well, you can do mobility at home, I can't fit it in though. And it's like you can do it when you're making a cup of tea. You can do it, you get up every hour and do something. But I forget. And it's like all these things, it's like forgetting isn't a thing. Just set a timer, or saying you can't isn't true, because you can. And it's like, it's just little things like that. And it's, if you get used to it, you get so much done. I used to always say to clients, I mean, going back, this is not really applicable now. It shows how times have changed. But I used to sort of say, when you're watching TV, when there's an ad break, do like some stretching, or get into a deep squat, or do 5 press-ups or something when you have an ad break. But now, and then, because then that would mean you used to get adverts on TV. You probably still do, but I don't watch, normal TV with ads anymore. But you probably get an ad break every 15 minutes or something. And it would kind of be, so if you did something, like that, like 10 squats or 5 press-ups, or did a stretch every 15 minutes, is quite a good thing. But now we don't really have that break. But it's the same kind of thing, I suppose. And what you could do to get even more in is move to the States, because there's ad breaks every like 50. You'd be the most mobile person in the world, wouldn't you?
And Steph, my wife, used to work in TV scheduling for like Paramount TV, and they did Comedy Central and Nickelodeon and MTV and all that sort of thing. And she used to schedule all the kind of on-air sort of promotions and graphics and all that sort of stuff. And I think there was I may be wrong, but the essence is right, that every hour you're allowed, there was like 12 minutes of adverts out of every hour of programming, or something like that, So actually, 12 minutes out of every hour doing something would be quite good.
It'd be amazing.
You sat there. Yeah. No, great. So we've got the what we got. I picked up John Ingham this morning for the Flexible Steel tomorrow, and the Strongfirst bodyweight this weekend. So we've got loads of people coming down to the gym for that this weekend. So that's going to be something that we're really looking forward to. And yeah, I know you're fantastic, obviously, with your pistols and that, Pete. But I sent you something, didn't I, this week, where I've just got the pistol, like, and it's the first time I've done it with the weight, in front, and gone full depth. So, but I picked up John this morning, and I said to him, "Oh, I've got to do my 3 tests for you at some stage this weekend to recertify." And he said, "No, you've only got to do 1." I said, "No, I've got to do the pull-ups, the pistol, and the press-up." "No, you just do the 1 arm, 1 leg press-up for recertifying." But I'm glad I've got to the. I mean, the pull-ups are kind of, a day by the by. But I'm glad I've got to the stage. So I and he said, "You can show me all 3 if you want." I thought, yeah, I will do, because I've been training for months to do it. So I will show you all 3. But that's been really good. That's been really good with consistency and things.
Yeah, honestly, mine are feeling amazing. So I wrote a post the other day. I'll not go into that. I forget what it was, but I'm now using a 28 and doing volume with it, and it'll get to 5 sets of 10. So instead of doing 10 sets of 5, I'll be doing 5 sets of 10, which is very different. And anyone who I've ever trained, when they get it wrong and they get the sets and the reps mixed up.
So sorry, so you're now doing 5 sets of 10. And
I'm building up to 5 sets of 10 with each bell.
But yeah, 5 sets of 10, is very different from 10 sets of 5.
Yes.
Yeah,
very
definitely.
different. Because I remember 2 years ago doing pistols with a 28. Might have been less than 2 years ago, like 18 months ago, doing pistols with a 28, and I'd miss them sometimes because my legs were just, I just couldn't do it. Whereas now it's like, it feels like nothing. It really does feel like not. It feels. I mean, 10's going to be hard, but I've done sets of 3s and 4s this week. I think I've got 5s tomorrow, and it feels absolutely. It just down and up, down and up, down and up. It's great. And I had somebody comment on it on, I think it was Instagram or whatever, saying, is that your knees making that noise? Because I've got squeaky floorboards as I do it.
Oh dear.
So
no, that's great. No, that's really So I'm and what I said to John today was, because I've got there now, and I did get there before, but now they are better now than they were before. So I'm kind of, my pistols now are better than they were last time when I had to do it. So, but what I did last time was I got there, and then once I passed the tests, I just kind of stopped because my focus then went on to maybe barbell stuff for the SFL. So I stopped doing pistols and the one arm and the one leg press up. And now I think I'm determined that I'm going to, now that I've got there, I'm going to maintain it, because, and even if it's, I know we used to talk about this, your 1 rep a week program, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where you just did the one arm, one leg press up once a week, and it just keeps you able to do it from like a nervous system point of view. And I think what I'll do is I'll continue doing like a Sunday morning session for like 60 to 90 minutes, just doing body weight, just working on, pull-ups, one arm press ups, one arm, one leg press ups, working on my pistol squats, and if I can just do that once a week, then it will stop me losing it, and I'll probably get better as well, so, because otherwise, if you stop doing it for a year and then you decide you want to try and do it again, obviously you're starting from nearer the goal than you were because you've been there before and your nervous system's been there before, and obviously I'm stronger, so it's easier to get there, but it's still a 3 or 4 month build up period again to get it back, so I want to avoid that. Definitely.
And that's that. I was going to do a video on this as well, of me and one of the guys in the park, because I had a new guy who started, and he's got really long legs. He's about an inch taller than me, but his legs come up to like come up to here. He's got because I was watching him do swings, and when he picked the bell up, he was having to almost squat down. And then I said, just stand up a second. I looked, and I went and stood next to him. I went, you've got really long legs, haven't you? And he was like, yeah. So then I got this other guy, Johnny, over, who I use as an example all the time, because he's like 6'5", but when we're sitting down, he's the same height as me. His legs are really long. So squats for him look totally different to everybody else's, right? And now this brings me to you, because you've got long arms and long legs, haven't you? So pistols are going to be harder. Pull-ups are going to be harder. Presses are going to be, everything's going to be harder. And because like for me, I remember when we did the body weight a couple of years ago, and Daniel, is it Vintala?
Vintala, yeah.
He was like, you're naturally good at body weight stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I don't weigh anything and I've got really short arms and legs. So like, makes everything much easier, doesn't it? But this is where, like, the point I'm trying to make is, like, for listeners is just because like someone does one thing one way, it doesn't mean you have to do it as well, because everyone's bodies are different,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Paul, you're obviously, but I mean, what are you, Paul? You're 6'2", you're over 6'2", are you? I think.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's my excuse for being for not being good at body weight exercises.
Okay.
Is being tall and having long arms and legs.
Yeah. Okay. But what do you find? Is there any exercises that you think you find easier or that lend themselves to being taller, apart from like basketball or something like that?
Well, not necessarily height, but I find the rack position in kettlebell sport pretty easy. So finding that kind of flexion position with the elbows on the iliac crest, that's pretty easy. I'm quite comfortable there. I think actually I've decided to go with biathlon as opposed to the long cycle, because I don't really struggle just doing the kettlebell jerk for 10 minutes. Well, I do struggle with it for 10 minutes, but I don't find the rack position the issue.
Yeah, I find actually, because I think when we did the SFG2 last May, Fabio said, because I've got long forearms, long arms. And for me, I can actually, because when I do my pressing, I've got my elbow on my hip, but I don't need to kind of, kind of curve the spine. Or it doesn't look excessive when I'm just there, because I've got a long arm. I can kind of just be fairly upright, and my elbow can rest on the iliac crest quite nicely. So yeah, so for me, I find that quite nice as well from that position, even though I've got long arms. So then to press it up high is quite long. But in that rack position, I feel fairly comfortable there as well. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think most people could probably do a single arm rack, because you can shift the hips to one side and you can kind of contort yourself. A double elbow position can be more challenging. I mean, I know there's a lot of people. I mean, people don't always. I mean, there's obviously some people kind of evolve to certain sports because their body type makes it easier for them to excel. But it's surprising that you'll see people who don't have a, what you would say, ideal body shape, maybe a long torso and short legs, doing kettlebell sport, or I mean, I'm sure there's a variety of different kind of people who are really good at squatting but don't have the limb length that's ideal. There's always, I think, good training and the right mindset can generally overcome a lot of genetic limitations to a degree. Certainly on the kind of above average level. I mean, maybe at the elite, you get kind of, you're never going to get a 6'5" gymnast, are you?
Yeah. Like you say, at the top level of sport, it's kind of genetics and geography, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the thing that I've kind of forgotten the question, but I think you're talking about, is there anything I find easy? Is that we? Yeah.
Yeah, because of your height, I'm just trying to think any exercises but yeah, that was the question originally. Yeah.
No, generally I'll use my height and my limb length as an excuse while everything else is hard. So it's good. It's a good way of creating excuses. That's what I say.
Okay, so being tall is good for excuses.
Yeah, apart from reaching like cereal on top shelves of supermarkets.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, a totally separate tangent. One of the things I've been doing with my group recently is we've been doing these, and I know, Pete, you've done things like this before, but the gratitudes. Again, we're doing it for a second week, going through every morning, and so it works. Some people really find it helpful. I personally find it really helpful for myself, but some people don't find it as helpful. But I find sitting down in the morning, first thing, before I've done anything really with the day, writing a list of three kind of gratitudes, or three things that I'm grateful for in the last 14 days has really shifted my mindset, really, and my mentality, because it totally just skews your focus towards the positive and towards what's good, rather than waking up and the first thing you get hit by is a wave of all the stuff you've got to do that day and the problems that you've got to deal with. So I've found that really good. I mean, is that something that you do that yourself, Pete? I know you've done things like that in the past. I know, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, with the people who I do I've got an online product system. Well, anyway, we talk twice a week, and it's based on like a 4 pillar system, and counting your wins is one of them. So one of there's 4 pillars to it, and one of them is, I mean, I didn't develop this. I've learned this from someone else, and I just use it because I use it for myself. And it's one part of kind of listening to yourself and how you speak to yourself, because there's one of those things that lots of people have said, haven't they? It's like if you let someone else speak to you, how how your subconscious speaks to yourself, you'd punch them in the face, because you're like, that's really horrible, but you get away with doing it yourself, and you do it subconsciously day after day after day, all day long. So there's one part learning the language that you use to do that, but you have to be careful with that, because you can then write loads of stuff down and be like, I'm mental, I'm crazy, me, I'm I'm never going to get past all of this. But then the other 3 parts are kind of building that back up. So it's one part sort of can be a bit negative, but then the other 3 parts are designed to come straight after that and build it back up. So one of those is counting your wins. And you can do it any time you like, or I do it throughout the day as I go now. I'm like, oh, there's a win, there's a win, there's a win. And you start to realize there's more than you think, because people think they need to hit the slam dunks, don't they? Or the home runs or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just getting consistency in it first. Because apparently 80% of our thoughts subconsciously are negative, or looking for dangers and stuff like that, because we've evolved to do that, haven't we? So it literally writing your wins down. So I do it at night, and then it changes your state of mind of like going to bed. You go to bed in a more positive frame of mind, so you're more likely to sleep because you're not waiting for danger to show up. But it actually literally changes your neurology as well, because it changes it from naturally looking for negative to actually looking for positive. And it really works. Like when people first come into that program, I'm like, count your wins, because it's the easiest thing to do. And that starts to change their outlook on things. And it's like, right now you can start to look at other things, but that's the first one, basically. So you do it as gratitude, you said.
Yeah, right. I've started doing these gratitudes. I mean, I did do it. There was a book that I read a number of years ago now, probably 5 or 6 years ago, called The Miracle Morning. And that was kind of like a morning routine, which had kind of savers, SAVERS, six kind of things. It was quite an involved didn't necessarily need to take very long, but it was a 6-step thing you wake up in the morning and you do. And it was really, really good to do. And I did it for a long time. And like all good things, you stop doing it. You can't remember why you stopped doing it. But the gratitude thing, I find I really like, because I kind of wake up in the morning and just think straight away before anything's happened. So it's not about a win that I've had that day. It's kind of just what I'm grateful for, first thing in the morning. And it just shifts my mind. It just shifts my mindset first thing in the morning. And that's been really, really, really helpful. And just, you mentioned sleep there, like getting, going to bed on a more positive kind of note. There was something that I'm going to do with the group, actually, that it's this 3-stage thing before sleep, which I've written it down. Actually, it was just sort of 3 simple things. So 3 hours before going to bed, stop eating, or ideally you don't really eat within 3 hours of going to bed. 2 hours before bed, probably stop drinking, and 1 hour before bed, try and stop, screens and, phones and TV and all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of a good framework as well, I think, because the sleep, that's something that I've spent a lot of time with people trying to work on sleep. And I was chatting to a guy the other day at the gym, and he was really struggling in the morning. He trained at 9 a.m, I think, and he was really low on energy. We spoke about how, and he only had 5 hours sleep the night before, and I'm like, well, that's not enough, and he would routinely be getting, 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours, and the other night I had like 8 or 9. I try and go for a minimum of 7, what's your kind of sleep? What are you guys, what's your kind of, if you have a target sort of hours that you try and give yourself, what is it? Pete? Or Paul first? Pete. No, Paul first, sorry, neither of you.
I mean, I like to get 7, but sometimes I don't get home till like 9:45 at night, and then you're up at 6 in the morning. So and I haven't eaten, so you're like, you finish work at say 9:15, and you got to cycle back home and then eat something. So I try to get to bed by about 11:15. So and then I'll be up at anywhere between 5 and 6 a.m. Probably Monday to Friday.
Yes, you're probably
that's the biggest.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you're probably underslept then, aren't you? I'd imagine most of the time.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt. And then the weekends, it's funny how you can't get the kids up during the week, and then at the weekend they're up at at like 5 a.m. So yeah, that's it. I mean, sleep for me is just I'm pretty good at sleeping when I'm sleeping. It's just either side of it. When I'm asleep, I'm asleep. I don't really wake up in the middle of the night with like problems or anything like that. It's not like I've had too much coffee or something like that. It's literally just managing the workload either side, because I think it's just the nature of personal training. It's on social hours. And it's not like I've never slept during the day. I've never really had time to nap during the day.
Sure. How about you, Pete? I'd imagine you're pretty good, are you?
Well, I haven't got any kids. So,
Yeah, I know, but yeah,
makes it a lot easier. I feel tired just listening to Paul. It's like, but no, we actually we go to bed roughly the same time every night, every day of the week. Yeah, which is one of the things in Matthew Walker's book, isn't it? Why We Sleep. And he's like, because people end up hitting Monday morning absolutely knackered because they've been staying up really late all weekend. And this is just how our life falls now. So we go to bed about 10 o'clock. And I'll just read a book. And then, when I'm falling asleep doing that, Sean will drop her book on the floor. That's when she's done, which is about 30 seconds after she started reading it. And then she sleeps really well. And then, so like anywhere between, 10 and 10:30, and then I'm up at 6 most mornings, 3 mornings a week, and like 6:30 on another 2, because those are the days I don't have to get up to do sessions. So, and then weekends we don't set an alarm to get up or anything at the weekend, but we're still in bed by like 10 o'clock in the evenings. But what you said about switching TV off and screens before you go to bed, I speak to people who like wait and watch the news before they go to bed, and I'm like, that's the worst thing in the world. How are you going to get a good night's kip after that? It's like, here's what's wrong in the world. Good night. It's like at the end of Crime Watch when they used to tell you to not have nightmares.
Yeah, don't have nightmares. No, because I think. Yeah, go on. Sorry, Paul.
I would like what my kids have, when they were like 3 and 4, which I get to watch in the night garden before I go to bed. Something nice and relaxing.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have an in the night garden for adults.
Well, still,
you just need to watch telly on mushrooms and you'll be all right.
I mean, still for the kids now. I mean, my kids are in bed for 7 p.m. both of them, and they're and we do, they're kind of. So they have like a shower or a bath, and then they have stories, and then they go to bed. And so they're not sitting watching screens, obviously. Like, and that's the thing. And then when they're in bed, they're just gone. So I think what I did, again, this goes back to, it was probably a couple of years ago. I set myself this kind of a goal to be in bed by at the latest or 10:30. Then that kind of migrated earlier, not consciously, or I didn't change it officially, but then it became really, I'm never in bed after 10. And now I'd say a lot of the time I'll be going to bed between sort of like 9:30 and 10, and then I'm always up around sort of 5:15, 5:30, but I still make sure, so I'm still getting a minimum of 7 hours. That's my, that is my absolute minimum, so I just kind of work out when I've got to get up and reverse engineer it back. But like you say, I'm kind of, Saturday night, I'll be in bed at 9:30, Sunday night, I'll be in bed at 9:30, I'm always going to be in bed at that time. And I'm always going to be up 7 days a week. A real lay-in would be like 6:30, you know what I mean, in the morning. So I'm always up kind of at the same sort of time, certainly between like 5:30 and 6:30, or 5:15 and 6:15, I'll be up. So I think that's, and that's just so, and that's why I really like this 3-2-1. So I'm going to kind of, but like you said, Paul, if you're getting back at 10 p.m. and then eating, I mean, I kind of decided to try and eat earlier in the day. Do you know what I mean? So I will eat my big meal like lunchtime or early afternoon or mid-afternoon, so that then if I'm at the gym, like tonight, I'll be at the gym till after 9, but I won't come home and then eat like that late, because then I know that's going to impact my sleep. I just won't sleep as well if I've eaten that late. But it's obviously different for everyone, so.
Yeah, I don't mind eating late. I mean, particularly as I've only really got Sainsbury's next to me, and after a while, because I can't cook any food, you just end up having these kind of the same old lunch. I suppose you could do stuff in advance, but I quite like coming home. I'll just do something quick, like a steak or something. And I don't tend to have too many carbs before I go to sleep. I'll just have some fruit or whatever, and I'll have decent proteins and stuff like that. And that seems to work for me. Once if I have something too kind of like late in the afternoon, then I'll just feel too heavy for sessions.
Do you go home in the day, or are you at the gym all day?
I'm pretty much in the gym all day. So if
okay.
Yeah. I mean, if obviously I don't do 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. every day, but if I'm in at 9 a.m. and I have to work until 8, well, sometimes I'll come back, but it's usually just to pick the kids up. So I'll pick the kids up and then I'll drop them off, make them dinner, then go back down again.
Yeah. It's just, I think this is good though, because it's showing, everyone who listens is going to be in a different situation, aren't they? With, maybe working or shift work or, different responsibilities and things like that. So it's just trying to find something that works for you. But I think however you kind of manage it, trying to make sure that you get a decent 7-ish hours a night is a good goal to have, and how you decide to manage that or how you organize that is going to be down to each individual. But it's how you can make that happen. Because I think that's been a real game changer for me, since I've decided that is a priority for me, the sleep. It's kind of, once I made that like a non-negotiable, it's just kind of has become what it's become, and it's kind of been that way for a few years, which I think is really good. Cool. Well, I think we'll start to wrap up there, guys. We got three weeks coming up with some special guests coming up, which is going to be fantastic. And obviously, like you said, Paul, we got summer approaching as well. And yeah, there's going to be lots of positive things, I think, going on over the summer for all of us in terms of the gyms and the clubs that we run and the people that we train and things. And obviously the guests that we get coming on. We've got some great guests coming up in the next few weeks. How's all the work going at your place, Paul? Is it okay? Are you nearly done? Is the drilling finished?
Oh, it's almost finished. Yeah. Just moving weight plates on the wall. So it's because it's concrete walls, it takes quite a long time to get the bolts in and secure. Don't want any weights falling off the walls, do you?
No, you certainly don't. No, you don't want that. No. Okay, good. Right. Well, any final thoughts? Anything anyone likes to say before we wrap up?
Well, Jerry Springer died,
didn't he? Jerry Springer died. Yeah, he did. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the thing about the footage from Jerry Springer's funeral, which was the fight in the church off Kingsman?
Yeah. That was good. Dear me. Cool. All right, guys. So next week we are joined by, Chris Branch next week from Forte Physical Health. So we'll be joined by Chris next week for episode 145. We are closing in on episode 150, which is a big round sort of a number, and it's a big landmark episode. And we are in the process of lining up a special guest for episode 150, or possibly guests in the plural. We will see. But yeah, episode 150 we've got coming up in a few weeks, which will be great. Obviously, next week I'll report back on how we've gone with the flexible steel and the Strongfirst bodyweight stuff with John Engam over with us. And we will see you all next week. Thank you very much for listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're listening or watching on a platform that allows you to do so. Please also give us a like or a follow on Instagram, on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube for us, which will help us get out there with our reach a little bit more. And if you'd like to join the Facebook group, just go into groups on Facebook and search Health Oddity, and one of us will let you in. We will see you next week for episode 145. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.